Oh, we're live. I don't know. I must have put the caption on there. All right, so it's gods and heroes, mythology around the world,
Yeah.
right? Um, top chat, live chat, none. All right, so we're pretty new at this stuff, guys. So just bear with us while we do all this.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're working on it. All right, gods and heroes. We don't know how long this is going to be, but it's going to be a series because it's got a few of them. It's got some cool gods going on around here, right? We like gods, huh? Well, we won't be going at, we don't, when we, yeah, if you don't have to, you just, you'll be underneath that. Dante doesn't have a shirt on, so he's worried about anybody seeing him. And yeah, it's a good point, but we're not going to worry about all that. We're just here to read a little bit, a couple chapters. Where you going?
Get a shirt.
Yeah? All right, go get a shirt. Well, we're ready to go to bed, so.
Yeah, it is.
So this is an introduction, but, so what are myths? Myths are the traditional stories of culture. Some are sacred tales that teach people about their gods. Some explain the unexplainable, like how the world began and what happens when we die. Some tell the histories of peoples and nations, and some others offer guidance on what's good, what's evil, and how to live your life. So, why do myths matter? We can see reflections of the people who wrote them, what they thought about the world and themselves. So I'll read the first paragraph on each one. Where do myths come from? No one knows who told the first myths or when or why. One time-worn theory says that myths were originally stories of actual historical events, made more magical by thousands of years of retelling, like a giant ancient game of telephone. You remember that game of telephone? You say one thing to somebody, and then the person says it to another person, and then by the time it gets down to the fifth or sixth person, that story's nothing like it was first person told it. You guys ever play that in kindergarten or anything?
No.
Oh, really? It should be something we should play someday, just to show you how rumors and sometimes, uninformed people say things. It's not good sometimes to hear it from a fourth or sixth or fifth source. What we don't know and what we don't know. What we don't know and why we don't know it. For most of human history, there's no such thing as writing. If you wanted to know about a legend, you had to listen to someone who could tell you about it. So people, instead of writing it on paper, these stories were oral. They were orally handed down. Like there would be an older person that would, talk about whatever. I gotta get comfortable, guys.
Yeah, we gotta get comfortable. Like the blanket is literally out of the sheet. It's really weird.
Yeah. So a disclaimer. While this book tries to keep the tone light and upbeat, some of these myths contain violence and cruelty. If you run into any of that would offend you, it might help to remember that the original authors of these stories died centuries before anyone had ever heard of rated PG. So these stories were scary. And I think a lot of the stories helped people keep away from danger, right? Some of your Grimm's fairy tales were stories about keeping people away from danger.
Keep hiccuping.
Yes, because you were laughing a lot. All right, so our first goddess. Throughout this book, you'll see many different kinds of banners. Each banner represents a different culture. So we got tons of different cultures going on here. It's awesome. American Great Plains, Central Asian, Egyptian, Incan, Inuit, Mesoamerican. It's just Semitic. West African, really cool. So At the top of each entry, you will also see some information that tells you which mythological traditions each character comes from, where they are believed to live, and any aliases they might have. So, other than our own Bible, these are other gods of other countries and nations. But a lot of different nations, a lot of people believe in different gods, so, right? But I think one thing is cool is everyone...
Oh, I thought I saw like 9 people watching.
That would be awesome, because I don't know what happens if chat comes up.
What do you mean, chat?
Like, all of a sudden people start typing things in. But we'll keep doing this until we finally get a few people. Well, you know, whatever.
I'll show you if, I mean, I'll tell you.
Yeah, if you see it. I wouldn't worry about it much. The leaders of most pantheons are gods, not goddesses. It's not fair, but it's true, and it's hardly the gods' fault. Mythologies reflect the societies that create them, and most societies whose myths we know about have been led by men. One major exception is Amaterasu, the highest goddess of Japan. Amaterasu is the spirit of the sun, the ruler of the realms of gods and people, and the original ancestor of the Japanese emperors. She is a beautiful, warm, radiant goddess who became even more powerful over a long and eventful life. Here are just a couple of her most famous myths. Amaterasu and the Nearly Endless Night. Amaterasu, I'm sorry if I mispronounce that. Forgive me. I hate to do that, especially with people, you know, regular people. I'd hate to misplay, you know.
Oh, like how
A
to
god,
say your...
somebody's god. Yeah, I don't mean any disrespect or anything. So she stars in one of the most famous Shinto myths, the disappearance of Amaterasu. Grieving and scared after her brother Susanoo destroyed her fields, threw a horse into her weaving area, killed her handmaiden, and pooped on her dining room floor. Seriously. Seriously. I mean, it actually says seriously.
It does?
Yeah, it says seriously. That's funny.
Poop on her...
Dining room floor. So Amaterasu fled her home and hid in Heavenly Rock Cave. The thing is, Amaterasu was the sun goddess. When she left, so did the sun itself, plunging the world into cold and darkness. People couldn't see, plants couldn't grow, and natural disasters raged across the land and sea. Without the sun, the world faced destruction. Something had to be done. 800 gods assembled to bring Amaterasu back. But despite begging, pleading, and a half-baked plan involving songbirds, Amaterasu refused to leave her cave. So the gods came up with the bigger, better, dancier plan.
Dancier?
Dancier plan.
That's weird.
They used their power to create a magic mirror and set it up in front of Amaterasu's cave. Then they all began to chant, while a beautiful goddess did a magical dance. The gods laughed and yelled and carried on as loudly as they could, and until finally Amaterasu opened her cave door just a crack to see what was causing the commotion. The gods said they were celebrating because at long last they had found a goddess even greater than Amaterasu. Amaterasu's gaze fell upon the mirror, and she mistook her reflection for this new goddess. When she leaned out farther for a better look, the gods grabbed hold of her, pulled her from the cave, and tied a magical rope across the entrance to prevent her from ever hiding there again. With Amaterasu back, the sun returned and the world was saved. So it says, if you believe the stories, the mirror that the gods used to trick Amaterasu out of her cave is still owned by the imperial family of Japan and is presented to each new Japanese emperor. So, how the sun conquered Japan. At her birth, Amaterasu was granted rulership of the celestial planes, but not Earth. She won Earth through conquest, starting with Izumo, a small region of Japan ruled by a king named Okinoshinushi. Before invading, she sent her son Ama no Hoki to explore the area, learn what he could, and report back to heaven on what he found. But almost as soon as he arrived, Ama no Hoki forgot what he was doing and settled down to live on Earth. After some time with no contact, Amaterasu sent Ama no Hoki's son after him. A year went by, and then another. After 3 years without a message from either her son or grandson, Amaterasu sent another god, Amanowaka Hiku, to find out what had happened. But instead of searching for her son and grandson, who it turned out had also settled down, Amanowaka Hiku made friends with King Okinanushi, married his daughter, and depending on who's telling the story, either forgot about his mission or decided to take the land for himself. After 8 more years without any contact, Amaterasu sent a divine pheasant to figure out what was going on. When Amanowaki Hiku saw it coming, he shot an arrow at it so fast that, after passing right through the bird, the arrow continued flying all the way up to heaven, where it landed at another god's feet. The other god picked it up and threw it back down. Can you imagine that?
That's great.
Right? The other big guy is like, I don't want this up here. Here, take it back. So right into Amanowaki Hiku, killing him instantly. So when he threw the arrow back, the arrow actually went like straight into him. It's pretty violent stuff, right? Now, a full 11 years later, Amaterasu was no closer to ruling Izumo than when she started. This time, she sent down 2 gods to negotiate with Okinanushi. They arrived before him in a show of power and grace, sitting cross-legged on the tips of their swords while riding a tidal wave.
That's the picture.
That's what that is, yeah. Okinanushi was no dummy. These gods were powerful and he knew it. So after consulting with his sons and after watching the gods beat one of them up, he agreed to cede power peacefully. In return, he was made a ruler in the world of spirits and was worshipped along with the other gods at one of Japan's greatest temples. So that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, Jack is sticking his butt at you.
All right. No baby talk. So, okay. They do make light of this, and this is a god, Amaterasu, and she was a great goddess. And she probably means a very lot to a lot of people in Japan. So if I said her name wrong, I apologize. Trying my best.
We don't live in Japan, so
Right.
we don't really
Maybe
know.
someone from Japan could let us know if we spelled it phonetically correct or something. So that's 15 minutes. I think each story is going to have to take one time every night. You know? Because that was we're at 15 minutes right now, almost. So we could do one story each night. And our next one is West African is the tradition, and it's Anansi. Anansi. Also known as Anansi, Kwaku Anansi, or Aunt Nancy. So the world is full of Anansi stories. I just feel like reading all of them. All right, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now it's time to read our Bible.
Are we gonna have this on?
I know what I want to do is read the Bible one story after once we restart it again. So we can do these ones here, right? These good stories, and then read our Bible on our own. And then maybe later we can read it, once we restart it with the new stories. I want to get that new Bible, the one that's a little more big boy, like big older for older kids like you. Jax, what are you doing?
I'm just looking at the screen.
You know what it is? You're moving around too much. He can't. He wants to settle in. All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Subscribe if you want, if you can, if you find anything interesting at all. I'm subscribed.
You don't.
Right. I'm subscribed to thousands of stations. So, but also hit the like button.
Yeah, like.
What else? Smash that like. Make comments. We look at the comments every once in a while, but since nobody is ever watching our streams, we really never look at the comments either. Are you laughing at what? At that? Right. It's kind of funny now, but you'll be surprised later when you get a little older. You'll have a lot of people following. Thank you again. Have a great night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Well. Yeah.
You want to say good night?
Just. Well, I don't know if it's gonna be night when they watch it.
I know. It could be any time of the day. This is true. Interesting, huh? All right. Well, see you guys later.